Yeah, hello. We are in the hangout of week 5 of the COP14 MOOC, and I'm very happy to have Gudrun and Maryam with me. They were the facilitators of the week about international communication and negotiation. Hello, Gudrun. Hi,
Hey.
Maryam.
Hello.
And I believe that you learners already got to know Gudrun last week. So today I will ask Maryam, please, could you present yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Maryam Bigdeli. Originally, I come from Iran, Persia, and I moved to the States when I was small, about 3 years old. And I grew up in an expat family, so we traveled around every 3 years. So I grew up basically in between cultures myself. My background is psychology and economics, and combined the two. Came to Austria about 20 years ago and started working here as a consultant to different businesses. And I started working as a university lecturer as well. So basically about 80% of my work is with different businesses, doing trainings and coaching and consulting, and 20% is with lecturing at the universities on different topics, such as the ones we had in week 5. So I still travel around a lot. So I'm based in Vienna, Austria right now, but I travel around a lot on business, and I can't stop learning. So every day brings a lot of new learning, which is fascinating.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you as well. I don't know where the echo was, and I hope that it will not come again. Thank you for your introduction, Miriam. And yes, I think my first question is about what do you think about this week 5 in the COP14 MOOC? What did you think about the learners and their activities? Please tell us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was really impressed how week 5 started and how you developed really the discussion and the argumentation. And I would like to thank all of you who participated in this, I think, very lively discussion, and especially that you posted lots of links leading to material and examples you posted YouTube videos and some reading materials. So I think it was pretty good for me, and I hope it was also good for you as the community of learners, actually. What did you think about the week?
I agree with you. I was totally impressed, and I could feel the joy of sharing among the participants, which really touched me, actually. And I really enjoyed to see how much information they're giving each other, and they comment on each other's experiences. They ask each other questions. So what I really liked was this kind of interaction, not only with us, basically, not only directing questions to us, but also directing questions to each other.
Yes, exactly.
And the broadness of it was really impressive.
What did you think about this week, Jutta?
For me, it was funny. I like the questions and the comments, and I like to think about communication because it's such a great topic. And maybe do you want to add something to your learning materials now, live?
Yes. The first comment I stumbled across was, for example, one of the first, Herman saying how everything really depends on communication, and how communication is always a challenge, He talked about his friends in America. He knows them for lots of years, and sometimes there are still communication problems, I can only agree with that, I think what we talked about in preparing this hangout and the week as a whole was that it really is a matter of developing this cross-cultural mind, this this intercultural intelligence, as you say it in one of the videos. And I think you have to always be eager to learn, as you just put it. Eager to learn new things, and treat the one you're talking to with respect and interest.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this can be hard at times, because according to neuroscience, this could be against our biology, because our biology, whenever we are confronted, we're exposed to new experiences, our brain scans the experience and wants to compare it to some previous similar experiences, and then to judge it, good or bad. And then a part of our brain, the reptilian brain, which is in charge of our survival, might say, oh my God, this is different, so beware. So basically, through cultural and emotional intelligence, we can put the frontal lobes in control, not the survival instinct, and see, okay, what is clever, what is good to do in this situation? And I have to work with my limbic brain, which is the emotional brain, and I have to work with my mirror neurons to see how I can bond with this person, no matter how different they are. And this is not easy, so there is some struggle there.
Yeah. I think the comments of all your experience really showed that you were really eager to experience those difficulties, and to get along with these difficulties, actually, don't you think? Yeah. And I think very interesting, Maryam, that you mentioned neuroscience right now, because one of the most discussed topic probably in assignment 1 was this thesis of the Clue Train Manifest, where they say that we are immune to advertising, just forget about it. And lots of comments dealt with that, and I also commented on that, and was thinking about it more and more, because I thought, yes, some people say that the new generation, the so-called Generation Y, or the so-called millennials, they have this bullshit detector. They know what would be advertising, what would be marketing speech, so to say. But if it comes to, and if you think about neuroscience, you know, and one of you posted this article in the Standard, unfortunately in German, where we had this interview with this neuroscientist. Since you do neuroscience also, what would you comment and add to this thinking about this? The question: are we immune to advertising? Is there a bullshit detector or no?
Well, what I think is that for the generation, the digital natives, basically, due to broad exposure to different media and to different types of advertisement, of course, certain things don't work the same way as they did maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Because our brain also, if we get the same things over and over through repetition, it doesn't stimulate our brain anymore. But I think, and in neuromarketing you learn about it, that advertising companies keep coming up with new ways to, again, manipulate certain parts of our brain which we are consciously not aware of. And since that's their business, they are always a step ahead of many people who are consumers, because consumers have a different job, basically. And the advertising marketing companies, their job is to say, okay, how can I influence the limbic part of the brain, which is the emotional part of the brain, and okay, maybe old tricks don't work, but there's always room for new tricks. And with this bullshitting detector, I think due to exposure to media, of course, people might say, okay, this company cannot really comply with or fulfill what they're promising. That may be yes. But I don't think the bullshitting detector can detect whether new tricks or new ways are manipulating our brain or not.
Yeah, but it might be a question of authenticity. I think people in a certain group, they know if they are addressed in the right way for them, for these certain groups. And of course, research and marketing research tells the companies which is the right way to address those people, but they would know immediately, probably, or pretty much immediately, that it's not it's not really a true way of addressing them. It doesn't really fit to them. Yeah, and this is what might be meant also with the bullshit detector. But what I wanted to ask you, because it was so interesting in this interview reading in the Standard, they said that language is not always that language is that what you really consciously think, yeah, but the thinking going on and what manipulates you really is going on unconsciously, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think just before you said, yeah, there are different areas in the brain for languages and for taking action or for innovation.
For innovation, absolutely. Yeah. What brain science tells us is there are certain moments in our life, and for some people it happens on a daily basis. They're very lucky. They have these moments of insight. They have this aha effects. They have this light bulb lighting in their head, or they feel, oh my God, I come up with a new idea or something. But they cannot immediately verbalize it because the language part of the brain is somewhere else. And the problem for many firms and many managers is that these moments of insight come and go very quickly. So basically now there's an endeavor for leaders and managers to help their people make a bridge between this insight and language, to be able to coach their people so they can verbalize their insight. That's one thing. The other thing is that the decisions are made, according to neuroscience, long before we talk about them. So there again, the decisions are made in a different part of the brain, and apparently when we are discussing those decisions, we're just looking for facts to justify.
So what can you really do to sort of strengthen your ability to resist to manipulation through advertising or marketing?
Yeah, since according to neuroscience, our brain cannot take any decisions without comparing. So we're always comparing. We're always scanning and comparing with a previous experience. And the previous experience is exactly where the manipulation happens. So basically the point of reference is being manipulated. For example, neuroscientists say don't take too many decisions in a row. Because you always, for example, if you buy an expensive thing, and then the next decision, if the other object is very different, but it's a little bit cheaper, to your subjective feeling is that it's much cheaper. So the probability that you buy the other thing, even if you don't need it, is much higher. There are many, many interesting studies which have been done there. And one suggestion is that, and one thing that managers do nowadays is that because they know that their decisions are subjective, they consciously look for people who bring arguments against their decisions. So they create some distance between their limbic brain, which is driving the decisions, and the neocortex, the logical mathematical facts. So that you need to create this kind of distance.
And they really have to sort of practice this experience of how to really make decisions more conscious and more neutral.
Absolutely. So one simple thing is
objective.
That if you feel so strongly about a decision, it's best to write it down, put it in your bag, leave it in there for a couple of hours, then take it out in a different room, not in the same room that you took the decision, not in the same way that you're sitting, because there you are under the same influences, according to neuroscience. Look at it in the gym or in the shower, after the shower. In the shower is not possible. And see if you feel as strongly about it as you did the first time. You know, so little things like that help us to measure how objective the decision is.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Yes, another topic I would like to comment a little bit on was that it was very, very, very important that some of the comments dealing with assignment 1 talked about the intranet, because from a public relations perspective, we always say Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, now it's working well, but we had some
Okay. I think this was because Maja was entering, I think, into the conversation right now. Okay. What I wanted to say is that it was very important that some of the comments dealt with the internal communication, which is part of public relations, but which is not always that clear that it's part of public relations. It definitely shapes a successful company communication, and one has to keep in mind that the public, when we talk about the changing notion of the public, these people, employees and people inside a company, they are as much informed as our markets, as our participant in the markets, even if the company doesn't allow to use social media inside, or even a free connection with the internet. And there was one more point. No, I think now it's the questions dealing with assignment 2 and 3, the intercultural questions. I think there's one comment.
Yeah, maybe I take over because it seems that there are some.
It is here. It was this very, very interesting.
With a Chinese classmate, and Christina was saying that the Chinese classmate could not speak up, or basically could not as actively participate in presentations and stuff as the others, and this was kind of, they didn't feel comfortable about it, and they tried to motivate her, but it didn't work, and then they talked to her, and again it didn't work, and then finally the girl quit, basically, and then they went to the professor, and the professor said, well, it's normal and it's usual for Chinese students or Chinese in general to quit jobs when things get difficult. I don't know how much I agree with this generic comment. I think that is too generic, but from my perspective, well, Chinese do not like open conflict. This puts a lot of pressure on them. So if you go up to them and if you think, well, for you it's totally, it's one of your values, maybe cultural values, to speak to the person openly about what's not good in the team, what's not working, and try to improve it. So you're doing it, with good intentions. Whereas for the other one, coming from that culture, it's a lot of pressure. They don't know how to deal with it. They have never openly talked about problems. So that can easily shy them away. So I'm not saying that it's your fault that she quit, but this is not how the way they deal with problems. And what I have seen is quite the same with my the experience I have with my managers that do business in, for example, China, is that you don't openly blame people at the negotiation table, or you cannot really expect them to go into conflict or confrontation or openly discuss what they're thinking. So a lot of things are done in advance, and that's very much of how can I help you, not lose your face, and it's a lot of pleasantries, let's say, the negotiation table. So it could be that the person was under a lot of pressure and they couldn't deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with it. So what I recommend in such a situation is that allocate people who come from cultures who are not that open to presentation and stuff like that more quiet work, so they can contribute to the teamwork in a quiet way of doing this and that research and putting this and that together, and maybe less to publicly speaking about it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I'm happy that now it seems that the internet works well again. Gudrun and Maryam, I have a question from Katharina, and I like this question. It's a funny question because she says if she's working in international business contexts, then are her co-workers familiar with communication concepts like style differences? So when you have an international business, can you assume that also the others thought about how to communicate and how to negotiate?
Well, my recommendation to students and also to managers is always to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So you cannot expect all your counterparts to be highly skilled communicators. And if you expect that, then you might be, greatly disappointed. So I would say the best thing to do is to work on yourself and on your own skills. And as I said, hope for the best, have your plans, have your preparation, but nevertheless, do not be too stiff on whatever you have prepared, because that does not allow enough flexibility. So you cannot really react to what's happening in the environment. So you cannot expect your counterpart to know what you know about differences in culture, about differences in style, or to be aware of your culture. Because I get this question a lot. They say, "Oh, okay, I'm working so much on my cultural awareness, but what about the other ones? Do they also work?" Mm-hmm. Well, we never know. We never know.
Okay, and as there are no online questions, it's my time to ask my question. As at our university we have to deal with students, is there a difference? Because dealing with an international group of students who probably also have to negotiate and communicate with each other with respect to doing work together in an international team, or is it more or less the same? What do you mean?
From my experience, it's exactly the same. Because also when students work together in teams, it's an allocation of different tasks because the team wants to reach a goal, which is pretty much the same in business. The only difference is that normally, you have to compare it to international or cross-cultural teams which work together in firms versus one person goes to India or goes to China to do business. Then it's different. So it depends very much if you have your home advantage or not. But international teams, student teams, are very much like international businesses. And I've had cases where, for example, there was an international team who had to do basically a project together, and I was asked to do a session with them to help them understand that there is diversity and how to deal with that diversity, which is pretty much like the sessions I do with business people.
But this means also that if you have international students teams, you really have to put intercultural communication as a task on a topic or on the agenda. Yeah. Absolutely. Because I remember one project work which was really a very, so to speak, a little bit strange for me, and I think there was one comment also saying that sometimes language is our greatest barrier for understanding, actually, because it was working with Austrian and German students who speak the same language. Yeah, you should think, yeah, but those teams should have been seen as real international teams and intercultural teams, because it was not clear that they could work together.
I understand, yeah.
In fact, it turned out to be totally unclear that they really could work on a given goal together, yeah? And they really didn't reach, in the end, the intended goal, because they were tangled up into intercultural differences and misunderstandings, actually, yeah?
We're talking here about different cultures, although the language root is the same, but we all know that Austrian German is different from German.
Yes.
And depends what part of Germany. Again, South Germany is different from North Germany, and the culture is different, expectation is different. But I want to even take it further. I've had I do a lot of teaching of classes of people who are only Austrians or within one culture.
Yeah.
You can speak the same language, you can be from one country, but you can still have many, many conflicts. Exactly. The culture is just another layer which contributes to communication problems and mishaps. Yeah. So there's this whole area of style, communication style, and it's called "Do you speak my language?" And that does not refer to Indian, Chinese, German, English. It's understanding the point of view of the other person, where they're coming from.
style, which means more than language, yeah,
more
even
beyond language,
non-verbal language also, and even behavior and lots more. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's time for your concluding remarks and to finish week 5.
Yes, I don't have any general concluding remarks. I just want to linger a little bit more on these communication style things. I think, and that connects with language, yeah, and referring back to organizational communication, actually. Sonia brought up a topic in this discussion where she thought, will it really be changing so much, for example, the language in a few years, how companies really write down mission statements or live a non-verbal, non-scripted corporate culture? Yeah, I can only say that I think it can go either way, really. Right, really, yeah. I know a company which is a typical Austrian-sized company, but very, very international, yeah, and they have like 94% export rate, yeah, in a niche market, yeah, and they are fast growing, almost tripled their revenues in 6 years, and their employee numbers, they are now up to 2,000 employees, yeah, and they don't have anything written, no corporate culture written down, yeah, but that doesn't mean that they are really open. What I wanted to say, yeah, that they really conduct open conversations. Yeah, for example, they don't have any social media in their company or any free internet access in their company. Yeah, and they don't do any social media communication tools. Yeah. They have only like what I call these arena-style public relations tools, but nevertheless they are very, very employee-friendly. Yeah, they have been numerous prizes they have got for their employee friendliness. Yeah, but and that's is another thing, on a rating platform in the internet, the Kununu rating platform, where employees can rate their company. Yeah, they have with law enforcement put through that they close down the possibility to be rated by their employees. Yeah, so what I want to say is that company culture relates a lot to communication styles, yeah, and it doesn't really matter if it's written down or not. Yeah, it has to be lived, yeah, and it has to be, I think, thoroughly lived through all these communication channels they use. Yeah, one sort of style. Yeah, you have to be clear a little bit in how you act like a company. Yeah, this is just a little addition to the communication styles in terms of organizational communication. In terms of closing this week, I once again thank all the contributors to the discussion. Actually, I really enjoyed working with you.
Same here. It was a very exciting week.
Okay, thank you both. And yeah, Maja, now it's our week. Starting at midnight. Our week is the last week in the MOOC. And I think first, Maja, please introduce yourself a little bit. And our learners, they are curious of your international experiences.
Okay, first, hi Jutta, hi Gudrun, hi, I don't know, your colleague. So hello everyone here. Really nice to be here with you, and hello everyone out there who are listening to us or who will listen to us. My name is Maja Pivec. I'm from information design from FH Joanneum. My competencies, international competencies, are I work very much within international teams on EC projects, but also with international teams of students. We just finished a 2-week intensive workshop where actually students from Germany, Korea, Portugal, Austria, were from Finland. They were working on some tasks, and yeah, unfortunately we didn't put this cross-cultural communication as the topic, but it was a lot of coaching and guiding them, and they did reach the goals. So I was quite happy at the end with the results. I was reflecting when I was listening to you about putting this on the agenda. I thought we didn't do this, but then we were obviously lucky that somehow they were so motivated and so focused that they somehow conversed in a way that they reached the goals. But I give you a right, because a year ago we had similar, and in one team there were really huge problems because of different attitudes towards work, different attitudes towards contributions, towards presence, also different attitudes towards being ambitious. And it was very tough. It was, for instance, between Austrian and Finnish students, and it was very tough, especially for our students. So anyway, I think this is quite difficult. I also experience these cross-cultural differences if we are working in international projects. With time you learn that when some partners say, oh, we start at 9, this means we meet at 9 and then have a coffee and then start a bit later. When in Austria or in Germany we say we start at 9, well, we sit down at 9 and start with agenda. So those are tiny differences that one always needs to consider. Anyway, so this is short about my experiences and my observation of cross-cultural work.
Thank you. Yeah, and our job is to finalize this MOOC in 1 week, and I believe that we have thought about nice assignments for our learners, and maybe do you want to introduce them a little bit?
Yes. We prepared 4 assignments for you, and the idea is that with help of those assignments you should reflect actively what you achieved within those 4 weeks. Oh, sorry, 5 weeks. So this is 6th week that you should reflect upon the previous 5 weeks, about different types of conversation, also about how you learned, what you liked, perhaps you discovered new ways of your preferences of using social media to learn, to communicate. You should also think perhaps about steps, how you would like to continue learning and perhaps maintaining the contacts that you acquired here. Then Jutta has a very tricky thing, very interesting one, how to create footprint of your learning. So it's a kind of very many criteria. I don't remember how many, but it brings out quite a nice, almost a spider's net. So that's also a very interesting challenge for you. So that would be a second assignment for more advanced students. I think the first assignment was in general, reflecting about learning, sharing with us in different areas how you want to achieve this. We also prepared a very interesting thing, which is in form of a feedback questionnaire. So that could be even a starting point of your reflection, because it takes around 10 to 15 minutes, and it guides you through how you learned, how you perceived the different things that were offered to you. So perhaps this would be almost the best starting point into your reflection. The link to this feedback questionnaire is already embedded into assignment 1, but it will be also offered separately. So assignment 2 is footprints of emergent learning that Jutta might then explain a bit more. Then assignment 3, of course, it's saying goodbye. As we said before, hello, we will say goodbye at the end. So this is also one of the assignments. Think about different ways. Perhaps you would like to share something personal, a photo or a music that you like, or some article that you find especially intriguing or interesting with others. And then last but not least, quite some of you wanted a badge. So there is also a point where you should collect all the things that are necessary for the badge and submit them, of course, including your emails, because otherwise you cannot receive the badges. So pretty much that's all what's going to happen in the week 6. I wanted to say 5. I don't know why.
Yes. I don't want to speak about the footprints now. I only want to say that there are 25 factors. And I believe that we are at the end of our hangout now. I'm sorry that this time we had some technical problems, but they vanished, so you never know how it will work. And Maja and I, we are looking forward to our week, to your discussions and input. And yeah, I hope that everybody has a nice 6th and last week in the COPE 14 MOOC. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Talk to you next week or coming week, this week.